One of the biggest decisions that a gardener has to make in establishing their garden and landscape is the major structural plants of the garden, i.e. the trees, the shade trees, because they are so large and they're there for such a long time that that decision will stay with you. And so choosing the best tree and one that will give you a long season of interest and will have minimal problems along the line is something that's very important, and one should devote a considerable amount of time to doing it. I'd like to talk about a couple of trees to think of in that terms today. Plants that are in the nursery trade in North Carolina, but perhaps not as commonly seen as some of the others that you might deal with. What we're going to be talking about are the golden rain trees. Now, one of them is fairly common and fairly familiar in the landscape, and as you look over my shoulder, you'll see the plant to the right in the backdrop. That's the one that we normally know as the golden rain tree. It's a plant called Koelreuteria paniculata. The flowers are borne in big panicles. That's where the name comes from that. It's a tough, durable tree. It can be an urban tree in parking lots and downtown narrow planting strips, and yet it also thrives very well in a suburban lawn. And it gives you a number of seasons of interest in the garden. The primary focus of it are the summer flowers. It has big panicles of bright yellow flowers in June and July. And as those fade, the seed pods that you see there normally turn black. Now, we'll come back to this plant and talk a little bit more about it in later, but they remain on through the years and do provide some interest at that point. The other plant behind me, the larger plant to your left as you look at that, is a less common but certainly available and a very desirable species. This is Koelreuteria bipinnata, and it's often sometimes called the giant autumn golden rain tree. It's a bigger tree and has several things that make it in many respects a more spectacular plant in the landscape. Now, both of these are native to China, Southeast Asia, those regions, but they are well adapted to our climate and will grow anywhere in North Carolina. Now, to sort them out a little bit, I'd like to say maybe pull down and focus here on some of the characteristics, specifically foliage and fruit, which makes them very easy to distinguish from each other. The Koelreuteria paniculata, the normal one that's seen, this is what one leaf looks like. Now, it is a divided leaf, and technically this would be called a pinnate leaf with side branches off of a main axis, but all of this structure that I have in my hand is one leaf, or it's what's sometimes known as a compound leaf. They range about probably 8 to 12 inches in length on the tree, dark green, very attractive foliage on the plant. Now, the big difference, and it's very easy to see when we compare that to the foliage of bipinnata, and bipinnata means it is pinnate, but in two ways. It's pinnate this way, that you get the side branches, and then these longer structures off the main limb. All of this structure is nearly 2 feet, and it can get up to 3 feet in length, is one leaf, and these are individual leaflets on it. So structurally, if you pull these plants and look at them, paniculata and bipinnata are very, very different from each other. So even if they're not flowering or fruiting, you can tell that difference quite readily. Now, to go beyond that, the flowers and the fruiting pattern also make them easy to distinguish. Now, at this time of year, the flowers are gone in both, but the flowering time is important. The normal one blooms in midsummer, but one of the merits of the bipinnata is that it blooms in the autumn time, generally late August and September, when not much else is happening, and it still has the bright golden flowers. But there are differences in size of panicles. Paniculata, the normal one, is a smaller panicle. Bipinnata can get huge, up to 3 feet in diameter. And the fruit themselves are quite different. Now, this is the paniculata, the normal golden rain tree, and it has these sort of triangular sort of pods, and normally these will be, at this time of year in the autumn, a brown to black in color and ornamental in that respect. This particular one happens to be still green because it's a cultivar that was selected for its ability to bloom in the fall. It's called September. It does bloom in September, and so its seed pods are formed later, and they're a little bit later to color. But the dramatic difference occurs when you get to the bipinnata. We have big fleshy pods on this. Again, the total head of these can be up to 3 feet in diameter, and they turn a pink to purple color in the autumn. And so a mature tree of this kind is really a spectacular thing to see. So you get, again, nice green summer foliage on this, you get the September flowers, you get the pink purple fruit in the autumn. And both of them are tough, durable trees. Again, they'll take drought, they'll take clays, they'll take sands. Again, both of them probably need sun as their primary requirement, although they will tolerate light shade in the landscape. And even though they grow fast, both of them will be long-lived trees in the landscape and be quite spectacular. Normally maturing in at about the 20 to 40 foot range, so it's not a monumental tree, huge tree, and it will fit on the size of, say, an average suburban lot. Excellent trees, they're available, you can find them with a little bit of hunting.